Hello, good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Sally. Another webinar.
Excited. This one's going to be fun.
Yeah, this is AI with AI. It's going to be good.
That's true. We haven't done one where we use AI for results about AI.
Yeah, we got AI Inception. We have an AI presentation about AI in a webinar about AI, using AI to talk about ROI of AI.
Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started here in just a few seconds. All right, Jeff.
Are we ready?
Almost ready to go with our LinkedIn Live webinar.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Welcome, everyone. I'm Sally Hurley. I'm the CEO here at VIP Desk. I'm joined today for this webinar with Jeff Cramp. He's our Chief AI Officer. Welcome,
Good
Jeff.
morning, everyone. Thank you, Sally, for having me. This is good.
This is awesome. So today we're going to talk about how to create an ROI for AI for your contact center. And we're going to share with you the prompt, the documents you need. We're going to give a live demo, and we're going to give you the prompt that you can use to do this yourself. So we're going to help you design your own AI ROI. So it's all things AI. And so, we're going to talk about most of this presentation is going to be about the actual creation of your ROI. So quickly, we'll run through why does that matter? What are some of the pitfalls while you're trying to do this? Building your ROI model. Jeff's going to take you through a live demo and how you can do this yourself, and then how to interpret your results and how to take it from there and do this. And just in terms of context, you're probably like, who are these people? We are executives with VIP Desk, and we have been in the customer service industry for a long time. And we have been helping our clients over the past year plus year and a half, I guess, implement AI solutions that are beyond agent assist. They are solutions that help businesses and our clients automate the customer interaction using AI. So not the
Without
old
sacrificing
chatbots.
quality.
Huh?
Without sacrificing quality.
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, we're all about quality. So yes, you're right. Okay, so let's jump into it. Why does an ROI matter? Well, because you're going to get about 15 billion questions from executives. What will this do for our business? How will it hurt our business? Is it a bunch of hype? What's the real impact going to be? And budget pressure. Great, it's going to save 50%. Let's go. Or what have you. Let's start with agent assist, which we're not going to talk about today because that ROI is not as compelling. Sorry, that's just my opinion. That's our experience. This is going to be real down and dirty. If you're ready to do it, the savings is quite dramatic. So we have a quick poll. If you have access to the chat, we just want to know, how confident are all of you in measuring your automation with ROI? You could just chime in the chat if you have time. We're really just curious how many of you are doing this, maybe doing it already, and are confident or not confident about how to measure the real return on investment. So we're going to jump into this. What are the common pitfalls in context? There's a lot, but I think one of the things that you will want to ensure is that you have a baseline, that where you start today is not up for debate, because that will make everybody crazy. So what's your current volume? what is your current FTE? And even if it's averages over the last 12 months, you need a baseline that is not a moving target. Meaning, if you're doing this based on a budget forecast, that is one scenario. But you want to have like, here's where we are right now, and here's where we've been for the last couple of years, or at least the last year, in terms of your volume and FTE, so that there's no debate. Like, well, we had 62 FTE a year ago, we have 62 now after we've implemented this. So the baseline is really important. Sometimes a risk is ignoring all the channel mix. You may map out a strategy that sounds like we're going to use agent assist first, then we're going to implement chatbots, then we're going to get rid of email, then we're going to automate phone, then we're going to tackle social, or none of that, or some of that. And so I think, just assuming that an automation rate applies to the total volume, it is a risk. Then you end up saying, well, sorry, the ROI is only on chat because that's all we implemented, and chat was really a tiny piece of our customer service business. So the other factor is growth, not planning for the business growth. If the business is growing 15% year over year and the volume is increasing, then and you don't have that in your plan, they may be saying, well, why do we still have the same number of people? And that is actually our experience. We have at least 2 programs where the team is still the same size, but AI is handling the significant business growth that those businesses are experiencing. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Jeff, our real expert here, to talk about what you need to have before you do this.
Perfect. So like I said, Sally was saying, we have got a kit that we'll give you that has all of the data that you can fill out and provide that. But there's a main document that has 2 data points, right? And that's going to be your contact volume. And this is about a year's worth of data. You really want a decent sample size to understand your ebbs and flows, especially if you're seasonal, and the AHT of the various channels that you're going to be automating. That's important because one of the things we actually notice is when you automate away a lot of the sort of easier interactions, your AHT is going to go up for your escalated interactions. So you're going to need to have that baseline and factor that in because it's going to be used in calculating things like FTE and whatnot. The data also is going to be segmented by channel type, not necessarily by channel. So we recommend going through this process for the channels that you're going to automate, but separating out digital versus voice. Because voice has additional costs to it. It has different AHT required. It's a single agent per contact situation. And you may not want to do that out of the gate. You might want to start with your digital interactions, but that can include email. If you're going to roll email into chat, any other of the digital interactions. So filling out that workbook, and we'll show you an example of that here. To be able to calculate that in. And then there's a bunch of assumptions that you have to factor in. Of course, how much are you paying your people, your target automation rate, and we'll go through that, and just various metrics that we're going to be using in the calculation to project this out. So this is a tool that is going to not only help you with calculating your ROI, but also forecast your workforce needs. So it's pretty powerful, and we'll dive into the data here and show you what you get. So here's an example of just a digital channel that we fed into this prompt and just get the results that we're going to go through. So of course, we got 2 digital channels here, very common, email and chat. Again, this is a substantial amount of volume for this particular program. You don't want to be doing this for 10 emails a month kind of volume. You want to make sure it's going to have impact because there is cost to these platforms, and you want to make sure that you're looking at the high volume drivers. And so, yeah, this goes throughout the year. This is a typical client who sort of spikes in Q4 due to the holidays. And we've got different AHT for chat versus email. And then the totals all the way throughout the year. So that's first and foremost your core data that you're going to need to do this. After that, you're going to need to have your assumptions, all right? And so our workbook's got a second tips sheet to it that goes, of course, through your hourly cost per agent, your productive hours, your ramp start, and your ramp target. So you're not going to hit the gate. If anyone's saying you're going to automate 50%, you're not going to do that day one. We do find, though, if you've got your documentation and your knowledge in order, you can hit the ground running and hit about a 30% automation rate out of the gate with this generative AI, conversational AI. It's quite powerful, especially if you can hook into existing tools. And then you're going to want to get that up, right? So you want to get the ROI, you want to maximize your automation rate. 60% we found is a very achievable target. And at what month? We'll see about that about 8 months if we wanted to go conservative. So if you've got your house in order, you've got the tools, you know the reasons for contact, you can hit that at about month 8. But if you maybe you're running some older tools, you got to migrate that, you want to push that out a little bit. If you're super confident, you can shrink it up a bit, but you want to give yourself time to get a handle of your volume and how the automation's working. And like we had talked about a little bit earlier there, the AHT is going to go up. So if you know what your really sort of complex interactions or the ones that really take a long time, those are likely still going to be escalated to a human, and those are going to skew your average. So you want to factor in that increased complexity. And of course, early on, you still have like 70% of your interactions your handle. So that average is going to be lower. So we've got here 10 and then eventually getting up to 20% increase in your AHT. And then of course your typical metrics of how often are you open. This is for forecasting, and then your SLA that's needed. So once you fill all that out, we'll just jump to the next slide here.
And I just wanted to add and jump in and say it's very tempting to expand hours of operation. And I think literally no executive is going to be like, well, we have AI. Why would our volume go up? Well, it just does. Okay.
Yeah.
So you go because it's tempting. Oh, great. 30 languages, 24/7. Let's do it. Well, now your baseline just moved. So you're not comparing to what you've been doing and your FTE and your volume. You've just opened Pandora's box. So it's a good thing. I think as long as you are communicating, okay, this is going to add volume, despite what everybody thinks. People don't wait till 9 a.m. and then they call and the volume is the same. I don't know. It's just not true. So just keep that in mind. That's all when you're doing those data inputs. If the expectation is we want to go 24/7, then maybe my 2 cents is phase that in.
Right. And I think that there's two things that people don't really consider. Is the 24 hours and the increase in AHT. And those are one of those things that like ideally you would staff 2/7 to handle your clientele, especially if you're a global client. And you want to make sure that everybody is getting assistance. Now, what typically happens is you have your staffed hours and then a web form or heaven forbid email, and people go in and do that process. So with AI, you suddenly have that ability of you've got these multilingual agents that can handle interactions 24/7. But with that, you do see increased volume, but it's not cost prohibitive like it is staffing for 24-hour service. So your assumptions will change as you see this happen. But those are two things that we do see that go up. And that, of course, increases your cost, but very minutely compared to if you were to staff that. As far as the automation rate, like you could just sort of draw a line and say, okay, this is what we're doing. But we find it is more of an S curve out of the gate. Those easy interactions, there, especially if you have integrations with Shopify or various tools, you can handle a lot of those right out of the gate. That's where you get that 30%. And then you hit your stride. You start growing up there with that automation. And then it gets harder and harder as you sort of teach whatever your maximum is, because your impact of the work that you're doing is going to be less and less and less. And so you start leveling off, and then you're going to find that your business has sort of a maximum amount. And that's what this is representing here. So you'll see this is doing that S curve up to 8 months. This is generated, of course, with, in this case, ChatGPT based on the data and the prompt that we have. But that's important to know that. And when you look at the numbers, you'll see that curve reflected. Okay, so we're going to dive into our demo here. This is live-ish, just because you never want to risk a live demo on the internet with these type of things, because things may break. But this is an example of our prompt being dropped into just ChatGPT and uploading our workbook into here, and it just starts calculating right away. So a lot of times people just sort of feed stuff into ChatGPT and they see the response. But we wanted to showcase here that like it is doing some thinking here, and it's going to break down. We're showing sort of inside the brain. It's going to start going through with the assumptions and evaluating your information. We've told it to be a workforce management forecast expert and a financial expert. So it's going through here and just making sure it's on the right track as far as its thinking process. So that's important. And I always like to look into this because it gives you an idea of what's happening behind the curtain. And make sure it's aligned with your prompt. This is why prompts are so important. From there, and this is where really the magic happens, is it switches to a different language, in this case, a coding language. And it's actually writing a program, a small bit of code to go through the data and process it and calculate it out, forecast your FTEs, forecast the impact and the ROI. So pretty remarkable because this is something that we could have a complex Excel sheet. It's going to just do some formulas. It's not doing all of this calculation. This is some pretty advanced stuff that it's doing, like a workforce management forecasting tool. This is just happening right here in chat. It's pretty amazing.
And I would just say, having played with this a lot, it is finicky about the names of files and data. So if you take our prompt and you use your own files, you might get different results. So I think it's finicky. I mean, it's kind of a miracle what it does anyway, but I think that's just kind of, we tried to do as simple a model. This example that Jeff's showing right now is literally just to automate digital channels. You could do a forecast that staggers out all your channels and all those assumptions. But we talked about this amongst ourselves and said, most companies don't go, hey, let's go automate phone and chat and social and get rid of email all at once. It's usually if you do, like, kudos, but usually that's a process. So
yeah, and I think it's important because there is cost difference when you're doing voice. Like, your platform costs are higher because you have to process that voice communication and communicate in voice, which is just in general a more expensive channel. And so there's that. So it does muddy the waters when you have that level of complexity in your data. And this is why prompt engineering is a thing, because you have to make sure like that source data. This is why we've provided a kit versus just saying, hey, just drop it into ChatGPT, you'll find. We've really worked with this prompt and with the data source to try to get it as consistent as possible. And you can see here, we went through the whole process. It did graph out that curve of what it's anticipating your automation rate to be. And it gives you the raw data, which is good because you can double check your work. And we'll show that here in a bit. And then it gives you an executive summary, which just gives you a high level. But you can see here the impact just going through this level of automation, what the cost savings are. And so it's going to go through that. It's going to give you your new HT because you're going to need that from a forecasting perspective. But the annual savings here, about 43%. That's pretty remarkable. And that's what we're seeing with our clients. They're handling their increased growth, keeping the team the same size, or having team reductions and handling like their steady state. It's pretty remarkable, and at the same time, not sacrificing CSAT, not sacrificing anything. If anything, the requests that the agents are getting are more interesting because it's more diverse. They're not getting sort of that same old, where's my order, that kind of type of request. It's more complex, but you also may notice the CSAT go down for your agents. That's not a bad thing. They're handling kind of the messy stuff, right? So there may be like hammering down those policies that's a no, we can't do anything about that. That might impact your CSAT, whereas your AI is getting all these requests and nailing 5 stars out of the gate. So just something to note. People sometimes think, oh, HT is going to go down and CSAT's like, why is it bad for my agents now? Are they not comparing themselves to the bot? From a performance standpoint, it's not that. It's apples to oranges. It's very different types of requests. So,
oh, there's so much. We could go on forever. So this is also the kind of information you get out of this prompt. So Jeff just shared the executive summary. That is not going to stop there. Your team, and including yourself, you're going to want to know what are all of the impacts and how do they change over the course or forecasted. This is a forecasting model, right? So you're looking at the volume. This would be a normal, call it like retailer that has volume that goes up during the holiday season. And you see your normal world of FTE going up in tandem. And then with the forecasting assumptions that we put in that will be your own, then you kind of see this number adjusting down as you will with the cost and the savings that go along with it. The automation rate, you might see 50% in month 3. You might see 80% in month 10. I mean, every business is different. And I think, we've kind of given you what we've now seen for retail businesses that are reasonably comfortable with AI with their facing customers. So they're more bleeding edge, I will say. If you're more conservative or you have like hardcore policies, you don't want any kind of AI handling that, and you just end up escalating a lot more. Obviously, that impacts the numbers. There's so many things that will impact your model that baseline is huge. You may want to even budget for an analyst. I'm sorry, because you're just going to say, take our model and go to town. It can do year 2, year 3. You can expand on the assumptions, but we wanted to give you something that will work for the obvious starting point, which we think is chat and or digital channels. So get rid of email at some point and roll that volume to chat and then automate that. So that's what this is showing, a little more detail than the executive summary, which I believe is on the next slide. So we are going to give you the actual prompt. So don't worry if you couldn't keep track of that madness with Jeff.
Yeah, it moved pretty fast. You probably didn't even see this chart, but it is it's pretty remarkable. And you can double check the math, and I think that's always important too, because you get the raw data come out. You can actually download the Excel document that it provides you.
Awesome.
Now, do you want to go through the results there?
Yeah, you go for it.
All right. So then we saw this in the executive summary and is in the quick scrolling of the actual demo there. But yeah, pretty substantial savings, 43%. In this case, so it was a reduction of headcount of 52%. And then a small increase. It's not substantial, but it should be factored in of the AHT. But with that, with these type of numbers for this particular program, you're looking at basically a cost reduction of just over $1.1 million. That's pretty substantial. With like just doing your operations as is, just really injecting in that tool into there. It's I can't the numbers never seem real to me because it is quite remarkable.
So we've said, right, we'll provide this to everyone. You will we'll give you the templates. You just fill them in, the complete prompt and the guide to use it, basically. So happy to share and then get feedback. We want to hear what you're seeing with what you're calculating. And of course, I think, we've talked about volume. If you have 2,000 contacts a month and 85% of that is phone, and you want to go automate chat, which is like, 500 chats a month, it's probably not, you're not going to see the ROI that we're showing you today. But I did just want to say, we did not include the cost of the platform. So that's a factor. It costs more for phone because of minutes and other factors, but we didn't include the cost of an AI platform and or the humans to run it, which typically ends up being a couple of people from within your contact center operation, because somebody needs to be constantly refining and feeding it data and policies, right? So, and then I say budget for a data analyst or go build your own GPT to analyze data on a constant basis. So that'll be our next webinar.
Yeah, it's a good baseline to give you an idea, but everybody prices a little bit different. Like we could just put our pricing in there. We would love you to work with us. But at the end of the day, we're putting this out there just because we get the conversation going. And so you can factor that in. Like everybody comes to you with, and this is why I think it's good for you to do it with yourself with this kit, because you don't want to listen to some salesperson tell you what you're going to get out of it. Use your real numbers, get that in there. They can go over the cost of the platform with you and all of that. So you can drop those numbers in there. But as you can see, like even if it was with the pricing and this type of volume, you're going to see savings. It's a no-brainer. And like I think that people always forget, you're getting 24/7 and multilingual service out of this as for free, essentially. Like that's a nice bonus part of doing all of this automation. You're saving money and providing better service.
Yeah, it's amazing. So we've touched on this as we've gone along. Like, what are the variances? Like obviously the channel mix. Are you going to implement and do an ROI model just on automating chat, or are you going to want to show phone as well, or social channels. Are you going to expand our hours of operation? You might as well, but you want to factor it in, and you're going to have trouble tying it back to the baseline if you didn't have that out of the gate. Languages, that comes with languages, but you have to figure out like what happens if you offer 30 languages and then a customer escalates in your team. You'll need a tool, translation tool of some sort for that, maybe, or you just escalate in English only. There's just considerations. If your business has a lot of product launches and those come with hiccups and issues, that obviously impacts what can drive an ROI. If you're like, okay, automatically we're going to launch 3 products this year and we're going to escalate, we don't want to have AI handling because we don't know what the problems are and we don't have the answers. That'll impact it. And then of course your business growth, you want to factor that in. So what we showed was just like your normal kind of experience with a data set over a course of year, but a lot of these things would drive the needle in one way or another.
Absolutely. And then for the data set that we're providing too, you can use that for your historical data. But if you've already projected out, say, next year's volume, then use that forecasted volume and see where you're going to stand, because it doesn't matter if you're looking backwards or forwards with that. You just have to be aware where your baseline is. All right. So we love our checklist on these calls here, but it's important to make sure that you are ready. Like you can go through this journey right now, but you really need to have, of course, your data to understand your ROI. You need to know where you're at, as Sally was saying there, your baseline. You've got to know your handle time, because that's what's going to really be understanding your ROI, because you're going to see the reduction in headcount, and that is directly related to the handle time of handling those interactions. And then FTE, some people don't have the ability to forecast. I know we do a lot of forecasting for our clients. So if you don't have that, that's one of the great things that we built into this, is it will handle that for you. And then in general, like to being ready and change management, we've done many talks about this, but you want to make sure that you have your knowledge ready, that you are ready to make this transition. You've got the tools, your quality is there, so you can continue to monitor your humans, but also your AI. And then, like Sally said, you're going to need a couple people on hand at least to for that knowledge management, but also to react to the changes in the organization.
Okay. Well, we have a QR code here that will take you to our site where you can share your information. And it's just with Jeff and I, don't worry. And we will send you the kit, like the prompt and all the things we've talked about, so that you can calculate your own ROI. We also happen to have, if you hover on our website long enough, you'll see an opportunity to do a really back of the envelope fast calculator that we've built. Well, when I say we, I mean Jeff. So it appears on our site. It will give you kind of a back of the envelope, but this, if you fill in and give us your information, it comes to the two of us and we'll share our kit with you. And then the deal is you have to share back with us how well it worked. And if you have any hiccups with the prompt, we're happy to help you.
Yeah, I think one thing, AI is a living entity. So we're always adjusting our prompts and tweaking things. So feedback, we'd love to have it. Love to be a two-way conversation. So yeah, we've tried to make this as easy as possible. Like you really have to just go through it once. If you're only automating one channel, if you want to look at voice, messing with that. But it is super easy. If you go back and watch the video, we literally just drop in the prompt and drop in the file and it's off. It just does all the work for you. It's pretty amazing. And it might give you an insight if you've not really played around with AI of what it can do.
Yeah, it's amazing. So we have our ROI calculator. I call it a back of the envelope, kind of a fast calculator. We have the kit we'll give you. If you want to meet with us, we're happy to do that. We're all things AI and customer experience. There's plenty we didn't touch on. There's just a lot of impact factors beyond the data points and the inputs. I think there are things like, the team themselves, like, They probably need additional training if they're going to be handling escalations. Like maybe today you have an escalation team, and in the future it is the escalation team. So are they being trained up to handle more complex problems? Are you adjusting down the expectations throughout the organization around CSAT because the humans are handling the harder things? You don't want them to be depressed about their CSAT scores, or for the executive team to give you a hard time because it's gone down, but it should go down because now you have a bot handling easy things. So it's a complex business and a complex industry. So we have a few tools we're happy to share.
Yeah, and we've done many episodes in the series too, talking about the culture when you adopt this, and making sure goals are aligned. And I think this follows suit with that. So it's really important. Feel free to go back and check out our previous episodes where we talk about that in detail.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jeff. If you'd like to just connect with us directly, our emails is super easy, Sally or Jeff at vipdesk.com. And we're happy to talk with you. If nothing else, hear your results. We'd be, thrilled to hear how this is going for you and what you're seeing, because we keep sharing our experience, but we know this is all still fairly new, and it's a moving target and keeps changing and improving. So I want to thank Jeff, who is our AI guru, who's put together this prompt, and I've used it, so I know it works. So that's the good news. That's the test. I'm the test person here.
Excellent. Yeah, no, and we love it. Like, we love playing around with this. And we were even joking before this webinar that this is AI inception. We're using AI to validate AI so we can serve up AI. And I think it's just a great, we always encourage people to play with it. And I think this is an example of, if you have a really robust prompt and solid data, what you can do with some of this stuff. And I think it just will give you insight to what it can do for your organization. If it can do complex and sort of very sophisticated stuff with this type of situation, imagine what it could do for your service.
And I just realized I didn't say, by the way, post any questions you have. I should have done that in the beginning as we went along. But if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us and we're happy to answer them.
Yeah, we're always up for a conversation.
Awesome. Well, thanks, everyone. Thank you, Jeff. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.